Why didn't the world shake when Ichibei released his Bankai, unlike when Senjumaru did? The moment Senjumaru released her Bankai, the three worlds trembled violently, but when Ichibei used his Bankai, we didn't see anything like that. Does this mean Ichibei's Bankai is weaker than Senjumaru's, or is it something else entirely? All of these questions, guys, are what we're going to discuss in this video, as always, from multiple angles. Without a doubt, every Bleach fan feels excited and thrilled whenever a new Bankai is revealed, especially when it belongs to a strong and important character in the story. The moment a Shinigami activates their Bankai is always one of the most iconic and emotional scenes in the series. It shows their true power or reveals the full identity and fighting spirit of their Zanpakuto, each one carrying its own theme, meaning, and fighting style. And among the most fascinating moments for us as fans, those related to Squad Zero, the Royal Guard who protected Soul King himself, 5 legendary Shinigami whose combined strength is said to surpass all the 13 captains of the Gochi. Both the manga and the anime makes this clear. With such overwhelming power and status, it's natural for us as fans to wonder about their true power and what the Bankai of each member might look like, since they represent peak of Shinigami strength. But despite that repetition, many fans were disappointed when they discovered that the manga didn't show the Bankai of any squad members except for Ichibei's. Even after the anime returned with Thousand Year Blood War arc and added many new scenes and expanding the story, there still felt like a missing piece regarding their powers. And the moment that reignited this whole discussion was when Senjumaru released her Bankai, causing a massive earthquake that shook all the 3 worlds. That single scene raised countless questions. What exactly caused that quake? And why didn't the same thing happen with Ichibei when he used his Bankai, even though he's supposed to be the strongest of them all? That's why, guys, this topic is very interesting and the reason why I decided to make this video. And also that's why I'll divide my explanation into 2 main parts. The first one will focus on the out of the story perspective, or what fans often call the Metaverse angle. This means we look at Kubo's intention as a writer and the role of the anime staff who helped develop the idea and created Senjumaru's scenes that we have seen. The second part, guys, will focus on the explanations that we can find in the story itself. Why Senjumaru's Bankai caused such a quake, and why Ichibei didn't, even though their powers are so different in scale and nature. Of course, personally, I don't care too much about the first explanation, but I have to include it because many fans bring it up when trying to make sense of what happened. However, we'll focus mainly on the second part, which reflects my personal view and interpretation based on actual evidence from the story itself. As I have mentioned before, guys, and I repeat it here again, because it's crucial to understand everything properly. Kubo never originally planned to show Senjumaru's Bankai. Yes, during the manga's production, Kubo had many ideas in details he couldn't include. We agree about that, due to time and health issues. And there are actually well-known examples like Ichigo's train in the eras of Sando or the full story behind Kisuke and Yurichi's first meeting, a scene Kubo had hinted at and wanted to explore but never got a chance to draw it. In other words, there were many ideas that existed in Kubo's mind and he had reserved a place for them in the story, but he simply couldn't make them in time. However, Senjumaru's Bankai, guys, was different. It wasn't one of Kubo's hidden or unused ideas. It was actually a proposal from the anime team. The studio wanted Squad Zero to have a truly grand moment, something that would show their status and power in a dramatic way. So the team suggested that Senjumaru in particular should be the one to show her Bankai. I mean, her elegant and mysterious design made her perfect for a powerful, visually striking scene. And Kubo liked the idea and approved it. And he went even further and he personally designed Senjumaru's Bankai and explained its concept and abilities to the team. And that's how we got the scene we saw. The other members sacrificed themselves, Senjumaru activated her Bankai, and suddenly a massive quake shakes the 3 worlds. And here's where the debate begins. Some fans believe this scene wasn't meant to show a real measurement of her power inside the lore, or a way to hype up Squad Zero again after the defeat in the manga. From this point of view, the quake and all the grand visuals were simply for dramatic and cinematic effect, not to show a literal difference in power levels. That's one interpretation, and let's move on to the second part, which I personally lean toward. When we look closely at how Senjumaru and Ichibei released their Bankai, we're essentially dealing with 2 completely different kinds of powers. Each one operates on a unique dimension. One affects the external structure of reality, while the other manipulates the inner essence of existence itself. The difference between them isn't about raw strength, it's about the nature and depth of their influence. For example, Senjumaru's Bankai is one of those abilities that function on a wide-scale range. It occupies massive space and consumes enormous energy. It's also one of the few Bankai we've seen that creates huge physical constructs. In her case, it manifested as a giant sewing mechanism producing threads that wrapped around the enemy, forming a huge field before attacking. So it's natural that such a massive release of energy in space occupation would create that powerful vibration across the realms. In Ichibei's Bankai, it's not just a stronger or larger version of his Shikai, it's a deeper extension of Ichimonji itself. Most Zanpakuto evolves by expanding their range or amplifying spiritual power, but Ichimonji's power surpasses both concepts. Ichibei doesn't attack bodies or places, he redefines the meaning of things themselves, erasing and assigning names, altering the concept that gives them existence. When he changes a name, he doesn't just alter how something looks, he changes what it truly is, because in his powers, a name is the source of identity and strength. And we even saw this during his battle against Yuaba, when Ichibei explained that his Zanpakuto doesn't cut flesh but affects the essence tied to a name. And here lies the fundamental contrast between Senjumaru's Bankai and Ichibei's. Senjumaru caused a vibration or earthquake across the three realms, but its actual impact was limited to the specific spatial field in which it was released. Ichibei's, however, doesn't need any shaking or dramatic visual to prove its scale. The moment he releases Ichimonji in its Shikai form, the influence of his power spreads across the entire world. It isn't limited to a single area like Senjumaru's. Instead, it encompasses everything that exists. Upon release, every trace of blackness in existence, whether it's within humans, Quincy, Shinigami, or even animals, becomes part of Ichibei's own power. Some might argue that what we saw from Ichibei was only his Shikai, but in his case, guys, the line between Shikai and Bankai is almost no existence. For Ichibei, activating Bankai isn't a separate transformation, but a natural continuation of Ichimonji's original ability, because his Bankai can only be activated after his Shikai, and both operate as a unified system, not two distinct states. We could say that the release of Ichimonji is already the true beginning of his Bankai. From that point, Ichibei simply chooses how far to take it, either to erase the name and power as in Shikai, or to recreate an entirely new existence by giving something or someone a new name, as in Bankai. Then there is one last and very crucial point, guys, that many fans tend to overlook when analyzing Senjumaru's Bankai scene. The location where the ability was released played a major role in the shaking we have seen, because honestly I don't know why this essential detail is often ignored in such discussions. From the very first moment I saw that scene, I was convinced that the shaking of the words wasn't a direct result of the Bankai's nature itself, but rather the outcome of the interaction between Senjumaru's immense energy and the unique environment in which it was unleashed. I'm not saying again that her Bankai isn't powerful. Far from it, Senjumaru's Bankai is incredibly strong, especially in the way it manifests and operates. But we can't ignore where it was released. The Royal Palace isn't just an ordinary battlefield or some isolated place floating in the sky. It's the central core of all the three worlds, the place where Ryu the Soul King exists, acting as the backbone of all the worlds. And to put it simple for you guys, it's like detonating a massive explosion right at the core of a planet. The shockwave wouldn't stay confined to one spot, it would spread in all directions, because the point of impact itself is a nexus that links everything together. So honestly guys, I doubt the same thing would happen if she had released her Bankai in Soul Society instead. Ichimonji on the other hand, guys, is a complete opposite case. Its influence doesn't depend on the place where it's released. We actually saw that its effect spreads across all the realms and affects every being that carries blackness within them. That's where the real distinction between the two powers lies. In the end guys, what do you think about this topic? Give me your opinions. And do you want to make another video about Senjumaru's Bankai and Yamamoto's Bankai Zankai no Tachi? Tell me guys your opinions in the comments, and see you in my next video.